YouTube, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we got some new shoes. Super stoked to try these. We have the Nike Vaporfly V3s. So stoked to try these. I have the V2s and I've been dailing them for literally 2 years. I got into running 2 years ago and I have used them for literally 2 years. So it was much needed to get a new pair of the Vaporflies. Now you might be asking what happened to your New Balance Super Comp trainers. I don't like them. To be honest, I really don't. I like the V2s. The V3s, they just felt different. I don't know how to explain it. It didn't feel the same as the V2 to me. And so I went back to my original Vaporfly because the V2s that I had before I bought the V3s went through 2 Ironmans. They were completely gone. Almost felt like the carbon plate inside was snapped. So I went back to the Vaporflies, which were still usable somehow after 2 years of use. And I thought, you know what? It's time to get the V3s because those are getting really old too. And check these out, man. These are sick. Like, I couldn't be more stoked with how these look to begin with. I have not used them yet. I've not worn them. Today, I only have a 30-minute run. So perfect time to break them in. And I'm gonna baby these for sure. I want to try and keep them in condition for my marathon, which is 2 months away. So I'm not gonna put them through too many workouts. But for the sake of this video, I will be using them, testing them, reviewing them, and letting you guys know how I like the Nike Vaporfly V3s. So let's go and lace up for the run. Alright, so we just got back from our run. We actually did 45 minutes because these shoes felt phenomenal. I wanted to play around with my pacing as today was just supposed to be a easy run. So I figured I would change up my cadence. I would change up my pacing. I ran a little bit of hills today as well. We gained 100 meters of elevation so I could test how I felt going up the hills in terms of power output. And then I also have the V2s that have absolutely been beaten on for nearly 2 years. First pair of running shoes. And how they compare to these. And you guys are going to be surprised about some of the differences that I'm going to say, at least on how it felt on my foot. So first things first, some of the technical details. The toe box on this guy versus this guy is wider on the V3. Okay, so I rock a size 10, and what I noticed is I had more claw movement with my big toe and pinky toe in terms of heel to toe movements. Okay, so when you're running and you kind of land right about here in more of the front part of your shoe, then you bend and explode forward. When you grip down, okay, when you have a tighter shoe, kind of like the V2 here, your feet are going to be squished in a little bit more, and that can cause ankle pain, that can cause tightness. Some people might like that and actually prefer that based on their foot shape. However, the general assumption is that you kind of want to have a wider toe box. And even though these felt the same in terms of how they fit on my feet, I did notice that this was wider at the front. So big props to this. This is a wider toe box out of the gate, and that's a massive improvement for me because these are a little bit more narrow. And I needed that wider toe box, which is really why I liked the New Balance Super Comp trainers, the V2s, because they had a very wide toe box. And these really replicate that. So I really think they nailed it. Now the V2s, these guys, a little bit more aggressive. Okay, so the cushioning didn't feel as good as the V3. So the V3 has a little bit more cushioning, I believe. Now, I would say that this is a little bit more of an aggressive feel, but it's honestly not something that you would really notice. If anything, these felt more aggressive to me because of how much these have been beaten on. I imagine if I got a brand new pair of V2s, I might be able to spot the difference, but man, these felt great. These felt snappy, poppy. And you know, that sound when you get brand new carbon plated shoes that it makes when you hit the ground and explode, it's insane. It sounds like a mini gunshot, you know, not literally, but it's just every single step, and it's such a satisfying thing. You know, I wore a pretty discreet outfit today on my run, and I noticed people could like sense me coming from a mile away, even when I was behind them, because of this sound that the carbon plate was making. So here's some personal things that I felt and noticed in the shoe. So I can't take the sole out of the shoe, but just on where the curve is, the arch of the foot, so right about the middle part here, it's a little bit more sloped down, opposed to the V2 or the New Balance that I've been using in the past. It kind of goes flat and then curves down. So the arc of the actual sole of the shoe is a little bit more aggressive, and I could definitely feel that when I run. Now, I will be breaking these in. This is why I didn't do a tempo run with them for the first time, because I didn't want any feet or pain problems coming into the run, and pushing myself really hard when I need to break the shoe in so it can kind of mold to my foot a little bit. But super aggressive and round sole, something to notice. Okay, I really felt that. So I have a decent arc in my foot, I would say, and you know, this actually caused me to feel almost a slight cramping sensation. However, you know, a lot of other things can come into play in that regard. So fueling, lack of water, all these things could come into play. The hills that I was doing, but nonetheless, they still felt extremely comfortable, and I just think I need to break them in a little bit more to get past that. I did compare the sole to my V2s, and yes, these are a little bit more aggressive in terms of how the midsole is shaped. Power output, insane on these guys, right? So who is this for? What are you going to do with them? Tempo workouts, you're not going to do your easy runs in them. You can, I wouldn't recommend it. Tempo workouts are going to be crucial for these race days. They're lighter than the Alpha Flies. Okay, so these are lighter. These are lighter than the V2s as well. They have less support than the Alpha Flies. Okay, that's why they're the Vaporfly. They're supposed to be extremely lightweight, fast, and thin. That's exactly what you're going to get out this shoe. You're going to get a lot of power. You're going to get a lot of speed. A lot of versatility when it comes to playing around with your pace. So I adjusted my cadence. Sometimes I ran at a faster cadence with like the same pace, or I slowed down my cadence with the same pace. These things are not the greatest when you're running at a slower cadence. I often found when I was running at like 6:30 per kilometer, I needed to move my feet a little bit faster as opposed to slower with these guys, or it just didn't feel good. These guys want to rip. These shoes, they want to move. You have that carbon plate in there, you have that explosion, all that kinetic force. I mean, look at this, guys. Like, these things are rock solid, you know? You're just getting full explosion and full force out of this shoe. It is honestly my favorite shoe, to where I look forward to using this in the future. I plan to use this on my marathon, as we are 8 weeks out. So I'm going to try and keep them in the best condition that I possibly can, break them in, have them molded to my feet a little bit, hopefully savor them and use them for race day. Also, one thing to note too, my heart rate was significantly lower at zone 2 paces using these. Now, that's not because of the shoe. I just thought that was a funny coincidence. We had like a 120 BPM at like 6:30 per kilometer, which is pretty good. Usually it's like, you know, at 6:30 is kind of like in the 130s for me. 10 BPM slower. So maybe it's because I was more locked in because I had these shoes on, or I was focusing on my breathing better. Just a funny coincidence that literally has nothing to do with the shoe. I highly doubt the shoe is going to make your easy paces 10 BPM lower. Running at 4:30 per kilometer, 4 minutes per kilometer. You know, it's really where these shoes shine. They rip. Like I said, they shine in these faster paces, and you can maintain that speed for longer without your legs feeling super heavy. So if you have something like a nylon or non-plated shoe, Your legs will feel a little bit heavier because these have more kinetic force every time you hit the ground. It's just going to be a greater velocity and force pushing you forward, whereas something like a nylon or non-plated shoe won't give you that full force that this carbon plated shoe will, or something like the Vaporfly as well, which is super light, doesn't even feel like you're wearing shoes. Nonetheless, guys, super good shoe. Recommend you try these out. Make sure you try them on in the store though, if you haven't used the Vaporfly lineup, because it might be different for you. With that being said, we're 8 weeks out from our marathon right now. Ankle's taking the load, feeling good, feeling really good actually. And I even, just came back from a 2-day ski trip, and I thought these would cause me some ankle pain, but even with the cushion and support that's in them, they still get the job done in that regard. So there's enough, in minimal amount, but enough cushioning for sure, especially if you're a heavier guy like myself. You really need to focus on having a shoe that can also support the weight that you're going to be using in the shoe to prevent ankle injuries. And I think these do a fantastic job with how lightweight and minimalistic they are, even though they're known for having no support. Couldn't be more stoked for what's ahead. Kind of just going into the marathon as a part of my 100-miler prep. I don't really have a set goal in mind that I want to hit. I want to just do it as fast as possible, but I don't want to bring myself down if I set a goal and I don't hit it. I just want to make sure I get through this marathon as a part of the 100-miler prep, and then that can create some positive energy and force going into the 100-miler. That's the ultimate goal for me this year. Marathon is just steps in the process of doing this actual race. Nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it if you made it all the way to the end of the video. All my codes are going to be in the description. Raw Nutrition, Rise Apparel, code Jordan, 10% off is going to save you some money. And I will see you guys in the next one.